Hello everyone, it's Davide here and welcome back to Learning Finance. In today's video guys, I'm gonna do a sort of a recap, try to understand what is going on with Alibaba and what is the situation about it, both from the US and the Chinese side, how things are developing in terms of regulations, policies and stuff, and I'm gonna also explain you why I think that there are many catalysts that are making me think that maybe a new beginning is coming. The only thing I ask you guys is please leave me a like. It's very important. You help me to reach more people and grow the channel, and I thank you for it. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new updates. Let's begin. Now, first of all, let's start with the US side. Earlier this week, we had the news that the Trump administration were thinking about putting Alibaba and Tencent in a blacklist, which means that Alibaba and Tencent could have been banned from the New York Stock Exchange so that US investors, they were not able anymore to trade these couple of stocks. And why is that? Because there is a blacklist of Chinese companies in the US that basically are said that these companies they work with the government, with the Chinese government intelligence in order to steal data and give information to the Chinese government about US things. That's why they are banning these companies. However, Alibaba and Tencent have been saying many times that they are not related to the government of China. We have later on this news. This is from yesterday. China stocks jump as Alibaba and Tencent are not included in the China blacklist. Many investors obviously they were scared because if this blacklist was basically including Alibaba and Tencent, that would mean that they should have probably have sold their shares or switched to Hong Kong Stock Exchange, which is not easy, especially for retailers. So this was obviously a good news, and there is still one problem, and the problem is the delisting issue. However, I have done a previous video about the delisting issue. Chinese companies, they don't complain with accounting rules accepted by the US, and the Chinese government as of now is not willing to accept the requirements. However, as I said in a previous video, there is nothing to be worried about at the moment, as they gave 3 years of time for Chinese company to actually adapt. And I think that 3 years time is enough in order to find an agreement. An agreement which is easier to come with the new presidencies. Okay, now here I don't want to be political. I don't even live in the US, so everything I say is under an investor's point of view. Okay, so whether do you think one policy is better than another, I really don't care. Okay, I'm not judging. For me, everything is fine. What I have to say is that what I expect from a Biden's administration, which anyway 20th of January is the date, okay, so just 11 days away, I expect less pressure against China, okay, so this trade war, which it was going on very tough with Donald Trump and Trump's administration, I expect things to actually relax a little bit, okay. Now, I'm not saying that it's gonna go away, because obviously when you have the first and the second economies in the world basically competing against each other, it is absolutely normal to have tensions and problems, okay, so this is impossible to avoid. However, things can be resolved, okay? Agreements can be found under the circumstances, okay? So negotiations and stuff. So what I expect, and I think is going to be a catalyst over the next 4 years, also for Chinese stocks, but also for American companies that they want to work in China. I expect the Biden's administration to negotiate and find agreements with China, okay? So that, in my opinion, it is a positive thing if you are an Alibaba investors, okay, or Neo or Tencent or whatever you want. So I'm not saying that this is the right policy or the right thing to do. I'm absolutely not saying this. I'm just saying that if you are invested in these companies, this is a positive news, okay? So 100% under an investor's point of view. I am completely political free here. On the other side, we have the Chinese perspective, okay, with more threats and issues against especially Alibaba. These things started after the Ant Group issues with Jack Ma that came out in public and said basically his thoughts about the Chinese regulators. And obviously the Chinese government didn't take it in a good way. And since then, basically things have started to collapse for the Alibaba environment. So Ant Group has been cancelled, and also the antitrust went through Alibaba's practices, like for example the choose to one platforms, and try to ban those practices in order to give a healthier environment for the competitors. Okay, so that's what they say. I have been reading a lot about those things, and in my opinion, we have to understand something here. Okay, so are they really fighting Alibaba, or are they against Jack Ma? So here is the question to answer. Now, in my opinion, their main target was, first of all, Ant Group, second, Jack Ma, because of what he said, and not Alibaba itself. Okay, Alibaba, it is, in my opinion, a sort of correlated target, okay, but it's not the main target. Why I say that? Because the main risk for the Chinese government was Ant Group. Why? Because Ant Group was competing against the Chinese side of the financial services. Now, if you read a little bit about China, you understand that the financial services, so national banks and stuff, obviously it is everything controlled by the Chinese government. Okay, now what Ant Group was doing, they have basically improved their business for just transactions, okay, at the beginning, to financial services and insurance, and most of all, loans. Okay, so they were lending cash to people with a higher leverage, and even worse than that, they were taking deposits and giving a higher interest rate compared with what national banks give. Obviously, you understand that it was a huge competition, and this is not something that obviously the government was happy about it. And they came to Jack Ma and says, you know what, you have to adapt to those rules because we don't like what you're doing, especially too much leverage. And they didn't like the idea of a huge competitor, because Ant Group, it was becoming huge in China, fighting basically against their banks. And Jack Ma, instead of collaborate with that, actually he came out in public and said things that the government didn't like. The government is very powerful in China, has the control over what happens there. And they cancelled the IPO. And then Jack Ma also, there is a lot of speculation behind it, because since then we haven't seen in public, okay? So it's like since November. And Jack Ma has a very flamboyant and entertaining personality, so he was used to come out in public, and also sometimes dressed like, for example, a martial artist or different stuff. So people didn't see him, and they started wondering about and speculating about what has happened. However, in my opinion, the most reasonable thing is that Jack Ma has been kind of forced to basically lay low and not appear in public when these antitrust and investigations are going on. Because if you go in public, it is easier for you to say things. I wouldn't be surprised about that, and the Chinese government has the power to do that. However, why I'm not worried? First of all, Alibaba is not Ant Group, okay? They are two completely different things. And Alibaba's business, in my opinion, can go on even without Jack Ma, because as you know, Jack Ma is not the CEO of Alibaba anymore already, okay? So he has not a direct control on Alibaba's business. Obviously, it is the founder, it has a lot of shares, a big stake, but is not the CEO anymore. Alibaba's business, it is very important to the development of China, okay? Because a lot of merchants are actually relying on Alibaba in order to sell the products There are really thousands of them, small businesses. So in terms of the Chinese economy, it has a huge impact. It is a very positive impact. And the Chinese government has always liked and went proud of Alibaba. Okay, it is like one of their main winners. It is one of the companies that made China be famous, okay, in the stock market, also abroad. Okay, so I don't see the Chinese government to kill Alibaba's business. And for Alibaba's business, I mean basically the online e-commerce and cloud business. So all of that, obviously also the investments that they have. On the other side, Ant Group, well, it can be stopped. Okay, it can be stopped. No problems about that. I have no doubts that if they want, they can cut it off. But this is not related to Alibaba's business. So I think that when investors, they understand that, and they understand, first of all, Ant Group is a thing, Alibaba is another thing, and that Alibaba can go on even without Jack Ma, very likely. And then that the government, basically it is not their interest to destroy Alibaba because it is very important to their economy. Well, I think that things can go better, okay, in the next years. So in my mind, I have these two, let's call it catalysts. On one side, the new presidency, okay, so a different administration with a different perspective, and I think their approach will be softer, okay, with China. On the other side, we have that, in my opinion, Alibaba's business will continue to survive no matter what, and the government will not destroy it. They can face Jack Ma, they can put him in this place, but in terms of the business itself, in my opinion, it can continue to do great, especially in a country which is forecasted to be the first economy in the world. So as you know, I'm invested in Alibaba and JD.com, and my move is basically purely macroeconomical, okay? Those are not two small businesses. I know that in China there is a lack of transparency. I have said that many times. However, I don't think that these two big companies are gonna say fake figures, okay? Because you can fake sales of 10,000 cars, but you cannot fake hundreds of billions of dollars that these companies they make every single year. So I think that in the long run, once all of these issues have gone, these companies will do great. And I expect an agreement going on also with the delisting issue over the next 3 years. Okay, so at the moment, I am not worried about that. When we take a look at Alibaba's price, we see the drop. Now, if you follow my video, I told you how important this area was, around the 200 area, and also this green one over there, and how I was expecting a huge support and liquidity here. Okay, so here is what has exactly happened. Now, yesterday, with the news of Alibaba, it is not in the blacklist. We see that we went up 4.5%, and we actually closed above this 11 period moving average. So also in terms of technicals, yesterday was a very positive day, and I expect, if things go well, for Alibaba to actually break this downtrend line over the next few weeks. Okay, so this could really be the bottom, and it could be a new beginning, okay, for Alibaba. So this is my opinion, guys. I hope you find this video interesting. Leave me a like and leave me a comment below. Just let me know what do you think about that. It is very important, and I like to hear your opinions. Subscribe to the channel, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.